The South African National Civic organization in the Northwest says that freedom can only be given real meaning to the historically marginalized when good governance and service delivery are entrenched. This as municipalities in the Northwest continue to experience service delivery challenges. For more on this, I'm joined by SANCO North West Provincial Chairperson, Paul Sebegoe. Paul, good evening, and thank you very much for your time tonight here on In Focus. You're calling on your partners to go back to the core values of the liberation struggle, one which, of course, prioritizes the delivery of services and selflessness and humility and commitment to serving the people. Why make such a call at this time?
Yeah, this call is based on the recent unfortunate experiences of instabilities within municipalities, disruptions of service delivery, uncoordinated delivery services from various sectors of government, and of course the level of the satisfaction as expressed by the voters. And as a result, it's quite clear that there is a lot that needs to be done. This period must be used as a period to introspect, to deal with issues that communities have raised during the campaign, so as to ensure that at least the level of satisfaction can increase. You have seen the extent of voter turnout, especially at local government level. It is quite very low, and it is purely an expression of our voters. There's a voter apathy as a result of the quality of services that our communities are receiving, especially at local government level, and the quality of leadership that we have seen emerging in recent years.
8 Northwest municipalities were placed under administration about a year ago. Recently, that intervention has been lifted. Are you satisfied that the administrators were successful in stabilizing the province in general, but those particular municipalities as a whole?
I mean, it's quite clear that we are not necessarily satisfied given what has been achieved. But of course, there is a reasonable acknowledgement of basics that have been put in place. The key challenges that we have been experiencing relate mainly with the systems that we have seen being in place as a result of the quality of leadership that we have. Because if you have proper systems in place, you are able to detect on time if there is potential corruption or maladministration that can take place, if you have proper systems in place. If there are no systems in place, the very same officials will take advantage and capitalize. And that's where we needed to start. We just hope the level of intervention that government have done at various levels in the form of the Section 154 and Section 139, it cannot necessarily go on forever. At a particular point, given the amount of investment that government is making in municipalities, this situation needs to turn around. It doesn't have to require an external person to come in and get things changed, because as soon as that person leaves, the situation goes back to its original form. So we need to deal with these matters because of the amount of investment without translating into outcome. Yeah. It's a point of concern. These are public funds. They must be utilized properly, and there must be an accountability. So it is in that context that we believe very strongly that the officials that get appointed along with the political office bearers within various institutions need to take accountability in terms of translating the investment in the form of taxes that gets invested into a service delivery outcome, a qualitative service delivery outcome that is measurable for that matter.
You keep referring to leadership in the province and in municipalities and officials that are being appointed. Are you confident in the leadership of Premier Bushimape?
We are more than confident. You have already seen the impact that he has had to deal with, particularly in terms of ensuring that there are systems in place, there's accountability, and the level of focus that we are seeing coming from government. There are programs out there that have been outlined, that have been pronounced, and we hope very shortly during the current budget that is going to be debated in the legislature there will be specifics now being provided. We are more than satisfied with the quality of leadership of Premier Bushimape, and we hope that everybody can join hands so that you don't have one hand pulling a particular direction and the other hands taking a different direction as such. We are more than confident. He needs to be given a space. Even the level of stability that we are now seeing in the province is what is actually required. Our concern in the main has to do more with the officials in government, that political office bearers would always make pronouncements on policy positions and the direction.
Right.
But the officials are discretionary in their approach in terms of, you have a clearly outlined policy position of the ANC in terms of job creation, economic growth, poverty alleviation, and so forth. But when you go at the level of the officials, at the planning level or the operational level, they seem to be discretionary in their approach. It is where money cannot be spent. What we want to see is the serious consequences management in the case of non-performance. Now, you have a situation in municipalities which cannot improve over the 10-year period, and you have the same officials in those municipalities. There's no consequences management. As long as we have that situation, would come in now and then, and we still find ourselves in the same situation. There must be repercussions on non-performance. You can't have a situation where you recycle officials. One official gets fired from one municipality. The next day you find him, the same official, in the same position in another municipality. This must come to an end. There must be a database which we are told National Treasury was working on in terms of ensuring that there is a blacklisting of officials based on either their performance and maladministration. And the records are kept and shared amongst state institutions. If this can happen, we would begin to see changes. Because you have a situation where a municipal manager would have messed up in a particular province, and that municipal shall show up at another province. You wonder what actually happened with the reference checks. And if there are such instances where officials within HR would have not done the proper work of ensuring that there is reference checks, these people must also face consequences so that you don't compromise on the quality of leadership.
What is your position on what is happening at the Kagisano Mulapo municipality? The ANC Youth League there calling for the removal of the municipal manager.
I will not speak to the specific as it relates to that, except the incidents. ANC has made all its public representatives to sign the code of conduct in terms of what is expected of them. And if these officials are not going to do what the ANC would have actually delegated them to do, there must be a review of such officials or representatives in those institutions. They have signed and they know what are the implications and consequences. As long as we have to ensure as up the National Congress that we apply the law consistently and to the letter. The policy position of the ANC must be applied without compromise. If that happens, these people must be reminded that they are there on a ticket of the ANC, not on their own. And it is in that context that they must just do what the African National Congress has sent them to do.
In that very context, I mean, do you think that there could be a tighter implementation of the step-aside rule in these municipalities?
Yeah, I appreciate the recent NEC pronouncement as it relates to step-aside, which is now quite clear because in the past we have found one thing. The step-aside seems to have focused mainly on criminal issues than the actual conduct of members and performance. So we want to see a situation where the step-aside is extended even to the actual conduct of our public representative, so that if there is a consequences on such matters, such people must be reviewed in terms of their deployment. There are many people, capable, young and experienced members and cadres out there who cannot be afforded this opportunity to express or translate the ANC policy position into reality. Now you have those who are given this opportunity, and they are actually behaving as if they are owed by the African National Congress. I think there must be consequences. And as soon as there are consequences, you begin to see people doing things in the right way. It cannot be correct that you have a party that go to the elections, promise people this and that. Now those who are supposed to execute what has actually been agreed upon in terms of the social contract between the leading party and the people, there is something else that gets done. There must be a very clear outline message. Whether you have 3 months in office, if you are not going to be doing what exactly is expected of you, there will have to be a reviewer, so that those other ones who are on the line for the same responsibility can be given that opportunity to express their potential.
That is, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on. That is the North West Provincial Chairperson for SANCO, Paul Sebegoe.